Tiger Woods, TGR Foundation, Tiger Woods Charity is a nonprofit organization, 501c3, that was founded in 1996 in Southern California. Their foundation is to empower youth to pursue passions through education, and they offer underrepresented students the resources and support they need to thrive in school and beyond. They are pioneers of positive youth development and encourage self-advocacy skills in young people. And their programs are designed to foster a growth mindset so that youth have the skills and knowledge to persevere and to find their own path. They provide award-winning STEM curricula, college access programs, digital platforms, and educator professional development. They've reached over 1.6 million students through their history working regionally, nationally, and globally. You may note from previous agendas for this lab that Rick Singer, CEO of TGR, was going to join us. He just recently retired to spend more time with his family, and we wish him well. We're fortunate, however, to be joined by two dynamic leaders from TGR. Oops, I just lost my spot. So Kathy Beer, who leads program education for TGR Foundation, and Michelle Kim, who's Vice President of Partnerships for TGR, are going to be presenting today on advancing unconventional partnerships to support STEM education. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Kathy and Michelle for their pictures. All right.
All right. Thanks, Ted, and thanks, Danielle. So happy to be here today with our friends from STEM Connector. We'd hoped to do this in person and have you all to our TGR Learning Lab in California, but that was not in the cards, as we all know, but we're delighted to be here today and to work with you all virtually. Give a chance in a minute to meet. Well, actually, Michelle, do you want to introduce yourself real quick? I think you're there. Okay, there she is.
She muted?
Yep, your volume's not in there, Michelle. So I'm going to keep going just in the interest of time and so on. We actually wanted to start a little bit with a video, and again, we just really appreciate STEM Connector's leadership and the opportunity to participate here today. So with any luck, we're gonna shift screens and kind of start with a little video to set things up.
So when I was in high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. In fact, I think I concluded that I wanted to be a lawyer. And every law school admissions officer said, don't study pre-law, like do something else. We love getting engineers. So I said, okay, I'll try engineering out for a change. And my dad took me to an optical engineering lab at the local university, and they were making holograms of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I got to talk to the students there, and I was like, you know what? This sounds like something I'd be really interested in. I ended up enjoying it so much, I didn't go to law school. And I instead went to graduate school for optical engineering. I definitely had a mentor, actually starting in college. My mentor, he always made time for me and he always believed in me. He always was there to give me that push I needed. We often have summer interns here at the U.S. Army Futures Command. As a mentor, it's really important to really believe in your students, no matter how uninterested they may seem. You just have to find what makes them tick. And it's not going to be an immediate process. It requires patience, and it also requires compassion and, really believing in your students. When you can give a student that, spark, you can really make a difference in their lives.
So we wanted to start with Rupal because she's an optical engineer, works for the U.S. Army. She's stationed at Fort Belvoir, and I wanted you to see her because that's the goal, right? I mean, somebody like Rupal is the goal for all of us in STEM Connector, to create opportunity for really bright young people to pursue careers in STEM, and that is something I would say that TGR Foundation and its programs started with that very idea in mind, that we wanted to create opportunities for young people all over this country to be able to pursue their passions through education. The foundation, as you heard, began in 1996, but you know, the events of 9/11 actually were transformational for Tgr himself. And, you know, he took kind of an unconventional path as a foundation, a leader, a philanthropist. He didn't want to, you know, he was continuing to give grants out, but he really wanted something that was tangible, that he could see and feel and touch and feel the impact of his philanthropy. And he said, you know, what we really need is to have a learning lab where young people could come and discover who and what they can be, and get them to become part of their community. And so I would say that the whole idea of partnering with community and partnering with groups like STEM Connector is something that's very foundational to TGR. In 2001, after 9/11, Tgr challenged the foundation to start working on these direct programs for youth. So we built a 35,000 square foot facility in Anaheim, California called the TGR Learning Lab. It was designed to provide out of school time opportunities for youth, middle school and high school, helping them connect to STEM careers, but really just get them excited about learning and help find the answers for why am I in school? And I don't see the answer. And I don't think kids are bored in school. I think they just don't get it. I don't think we do a good job in education. I'm an educator myself, of connecting those dots, of helping young people really figure out this is why I'm here. So after the Learning Lab was established, we've been able to create satellite campuses all over the country. It has led us down a pathway of creating a scholarship program, as well as providing professional learning for educators, whether they be K12 in school or K12 out of school time educators. We really want whoever is going to be in front of young people and inspiring them to pursue careers in STEM to have good quality skills to be able to impart to the young people that they're working with. So we're going to talk a little bit about all of those programs today, but I really want to, take a step back and again, kind of emphasize the importance of groups like STEM Connector and the opportunity of community. It informs all the decisions that we make through the foundation, the programs that we select, the way that we integrate them within the local community is important and not something to be set aside. But I think again, Tgr himself started out very differently in the space of really wanting to work with the community, because he didn't want it to be about Tiger Woods. He really wanted it to be about the community. He really wanted, people to have the opportunity to invest in their own community and make change. And that's something that I think has, carried us through even to this day. And then, we've been, the Learning Lab, I've been working for the foundation for 16 years. So I came on board to develop content and curriculum for TGR Learning Lab. And things have been going amazingly well. We've had an incredible, good run of success. And as you all know, pandemic hit and life changed. So Michelle and I actually started out working together those 16 years ago, really trying to figure out how can we make these connections for young people to be successful? How do we create that pathway? And I would say that even in the pandemic, we went back to those roots and tried to figure out how do we leverage local community to create the right types of impact locally. Clearly the digital divide became no more apparent than during the pandemic, and the inequities that exist neighborhood to neighborhood, community to community. And the districts, we were seeing them reach out, and many of you have probably been involved in that, providing technology or hotspots or whatever the like, but we also as a foundation saw that teachers were not prepared for the virtual world. And so we pivoted very quickly to create a remote learning platform for educators to try to help them be more successful in the delivery of content. Because the thing is in this virtual world, if you're trying to do the same thing you're doing in the classroom before, Now, not going to work. So we have to really work and help educators over that hump. And then the second piece that we saw was how can we make sure that kids are still learning even at home and help families. And so we spent a good part of those first few weeks in work from home developing design challenges that kids and parents could do together that don't require technology, don't require access to those things, but simple household items that you can use to really start imparting, design challenges, design thinking, just exploration in general. And I think that's good, healthy play for everyone. Michelle, on the other hand, is working on the other side of our house in strategic partnerships. And I thought maybe we could talk a little bit, Michelle, about how the pandemic has impacted that side of TGR Foundation.
Sure. Thank you for that. Can everybody hear me okay? A thumbs up here or there. Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, perhaps good evening to some of you. So in terms of my quick background, I actually am not an educator by background. I do have 2 children. That doesn't uniquely qualify me as an expert of any kind. But my background is with Accenture, technology management consulting, working across a number of different industries and really building kind of the world-class talent needed for our workforce. But so as Kathy mentioned, when the pandemic hit, I want to not only congratulate Kathy and her programs team for being able to pivot and transition immediately and coming up with a set of really creative and effective solutions to meet the needs of our community members. But I would say the biggest success factor that helped us during this really challenging times is really our mindset. In that since inception of our organization, we very much operated kind of like a startup organization. We were doing and learning simultaneously, as Kathy can attest to, when she and I went on our discovery trips, meeting all these incredible practitioners and point experts. What we quickly learned is that the best approach to going into being of service to any community is to go in without any preconceived notions, but really going with the core value of how can we be of service? What are the issues or needs or gaps that are indigenous to that particular community? And how can we become part of the fabric of that community? So I think that mindset, first and foremost, not imposing our will. And by the way, that reminds me of a very quick story, is that my very first day in New York, in Manhattan, I offered a sandwich to a homeless man and I got cursed out because he didn't want a sandwich. Instead, he looked at a bottle of water in my hand and pointed to that, and with some more expletives asked if he can have that. So anyway, maybe not completely relevant, but similar in that we don't want to go into a community imposing our will, but we really want to meet them where they are. So I think that's really helpful. The other thing that we had done was, in addition to really identifying the local context and needs of our community members, is to really tap into a variety of our partners. And not every partner in our ecosystem are all educators or by trade, in education. So we ended up actually working very closely with some non-traditional partners, including those who can offer protective equipment. So we offered masks and gloves to our community members, in some cases groceries. And that's not necessarily within kind of our wheelhouse or our core suite of offerings, but we made those real-time adjustments and were really nimble, again, because that's part of our intrinsic DNA. So I think that's what's really been helpful, and being able to not only identify some new partners and marrying that with creative solutions. But I think, Kathy and the team, the other remarkable thing that they are able to do is to really be really adaptable to any environment. So in the world of VUCA that we're all living in, that's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, I think more and more of these types of adaptability mindset is going to be really helpful. So that's what I would have to add, Kathy.
Oh, thanks, Michelle. I think that, really as I think about the opportunities for partnership, and I'm going to get to the topic for today in a moment, but Michelle, I wonder if you had any comments about some of the successful partnerships that we've been able to broker that have helped advance work. And I'm saying that to the STEM Connector audience because I think this is an opportunity for all of us to really learn about one another and find those common points of intersection. We don't all have to be doing the same thing, but you know what? We need to be lifting each other up for the work that we're doing, and there are ways to do that when we work together. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, that's my favorite topic. So, assuming that you already know what problem you're solving, or at least you have an idea of how you may want to tackle a specific issue, and you've done maybe, you and your organization have done some initial environmental scans or feasibility studies to really get a better understanding of what you're working with. In terms of partnerships, there isn't a one size fits all, as you all know, right? But what we've learned over the years is that diversity really is accretive, and it adds to not only the enriching the experience of the individuals and the organizations, but it's really incredible in terms of helping to advance and accelerate the work that you're doing. So I would say in kind of our categories or groups of partners that we've been so fortunate to work with over the years and continue to learn from, probably fall into three buckets or three categories. The first one is what I would call an alliance partner. Alliance partners are those that could be your R&D, content partner, deployment partners, but the ones that really help you carry out the work that you intend to do. And even in this area, we found that the mix, the variety of partners in this segment really, again, helps enrich that experience. Give you an example. When we launched our international program, we initially had the viewpoint that we would work directly with teachers or in-classroom teachers and educators. Instead, as part of our kind of beta tests and building out the proof of concept, we were fortunate to be able to work with a group of social impact entrepreneurs who are focused on education. So mind you, that was not the initial audience that we had targeted, but having them add to the workshop and the experience, the cross-pollination and learning, as cliche as that may seem, it was really amplified. So I would say alliance partners are absolutely critical. But again, I would be open to really integrating kind of multidisciplinary partners into that group. The second group of partners that we work often, and we couldn't be doing the work that we're doing and expanding and scaling the work without the support of our sustainability partners. And as the name would suggest, these are the folks that would help you build capacity, that would help you expand your work and grow the reach. And we've had wonderful, very fortunate to have both public-private sector partners serve in that capacity. And that's been incredibly helpful. And then the last group would be what I would define as your connectivity partners. So these are ones that perhaps may not necessarily be the ones that are direct beneficiaries of your work that you're doing and or provide the platforms, or they may not even necessarily have the financial means to be able to support your work. But they serve as advisors, critical objective advisors, counselors. They also provide, warm introductions or offer ideas in terms of how to expand our ecosystem. So they are a wonderful group of people and organizations that I would think that every one of us would be blessed and benefit from having a cadre of connectivity partners. And often connectivity partners, by the way, are the most critical elements of your community engagement. They're your the grandmothers in church basements to after school program partners, local grocers. I mean, they can come from a variety of sources. So I don't want you to think that these have to be necessarily point experts or domain experts in your field. So I would say those, Kathy, probably are the, some of the examples, and they have led to us identifying some really meaningful partnership, forging meaningful partnership. And there is that kind of a unicorn, by the way, where there's a partner category that fits into all three of those. And we've had the wonderful blessing of working with the US State Department, Office of Overseas Schools, and they actually fall into all three of those categories. And with their assistance, as well as help and counsel from a number of other partners, in the last 3 years, we've been able to actually, from inception launch of our international program, be able to reach 56 countries.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. And I know we're tight a little bit on time, but I just wanted to encourage folks, if you want to get to know a little bit more about TGR Foundation, to, feel free to reach out. We were really excited and honored to partner with STEM Connector on this particular session around addressing diversity, equity, and inclusion, and really formalizing access, finding ways to formalize pathways that young people can all have the same opportunities, or be invited to participate, and in ways that maybe they haven't been included. And I think part of that for us at TGR Foundation has been trying to do some of that work internally as well. So like many of my friends in this particular group at STEM Connector have taken a pause and taken a look at their own organizations. We've done the same thing. We've also looked at the curriculum content, the activities that we're doing with teachers, what we're doing with students, and ensuring that we are putting in front of folks, culturally relevant materials. And, going back to Rupal, being able to showcase and give role models to kids to see who and what they can become is critical. And we need to show all types of backgrounds, all types of faces, to do that. Now in this partnerships for post-COVID world, here we are. I mentioned earlier that I was a school principal and a teacher before that. In K-12 education, we haven't seen a whole lot of change. And the actual silver lining here for these last few months may be that we're going to see the change that's been necessary for a really long time. And it can start with the education sector. It's the moment of change we've all been waiting for. And we need to hold each other accountable as organizational partners to continue to do great work and ensure that young people are provided every opportunity to be successful. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Ted. Thank you so much.